welcome to this very special broadcast. The violent attacks on Hindus by Khalistani extremists under Justin Trudeau's watch has garnered criticism not just from politicians in India, but also from right-thinking politicians in Canada. The Chief of People's Party of Canada, who has also served as Canada's Foreign Minister, Maxime Bernier, is one such Canadian politician who has taken a clear stand against the Trudeau government for giving a free run to the Khalistani extremists in Canada. Mr. Maxime Bernier is joining me tonight on Newshour Direct and Exclusive. Thank you very much for joining us here on Times Now, Mr. Bernier. First and foremost, the issue of Khalistani extremism has been a divisive topic within the Canadian community for years now. How do you view the rise in support for Khalistani extremism in Canada? Do you think it poses a national security threat?
We want to have people here in Canada that will share our values, that will respect our Charter of Rights, and all extremists are not welcome in our party and are not welcome in our country. So, yeah, we have people with us that are from different faiths, Jewish, Catholics, and all different faiths, Muslim. We are not doing identity politics. Contrary to the establishment political parties here in Canada, the Liberals and the Conservatives, they're pandering to every, ethnic communities. We are not doing that. I'm looking at a person here in Canada, a Canadian from Indian origin. For me, that person is not an Hindu Canadian. That person is a Canadian. For me, when you decide to come to this country and share our values, you are welcome. I want you to be part of our society. I want you to help to build this country. And that's why we don't do identity politics. When you're doing identity politics, it's a very bad way to build a country. And we at the People's Party, we think that everybody can help us to build this party. If you have a different faith than my faith or a different color of your skin, it's not important for us. I'm not looking at you as, an Hindu Canadian, and I'm not telling you that I will do everything for you as an Hindu Canadian. No, I'm saying that I will do everything for you as a Canadian. And I'm pretty sure that all these people coming from India, there's Canadians, they're very proud of their country of origin, and that's okay. They're bringing a new flavor here in our country, but also they want to be part of this society, and that's what we want to do. So, as a political party, we want to have a moratorium on immigration right now because it's very difficult to integrate every, foreigners that are coming to our country. We have a big mass immigration here in this country, and we must stop that. So that's why I'm here today, and that's why I said what I said on social media. When you have extremists that are here and bringing their internal or the conflict of their country of origins here in Canada, I don't like that. I want them to be part of our society.
Absolutely. Extremism has no place in civil society. But the world witnessed the attack on Hindu devotees on the 3rd of November outside the Hindu Mahasabha temple in Brampton. While Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has condemned the attack on Hindu devotees, he did not mention Khalistani separatists. You criticized both Trudeau and the Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre on the social media platform X, stating not one of these cowards dare to even name the Khalistani Sikhs who are committing this violence. Will you agree that their purported silence in a way gives these radical elements protection and leeway?
Absolutely. I'm behind what I said on social media. It's the reality. They're afraid to, use the reality and speak about the reality. Not only Trudeau and Poilievre, but only Jacques Meade and the Bloc Québécois and the Green Party of Canada. They try to please everybody, and they don't want. But we must inform Canadians that was these extremists who did that. we must be able to name them. And that I was ashamed that these leaders they're so in their identity politics that they're afraid to tell Canadians what is happening in our country and in line with the reality.
But Mr. Bernier, why do you think Justin Trudeau and Pierre Poilievre pander to Khalistani extremists? And what is your message to the Canadian Hindu community that is facing aggressive and violent attacks by some of these Khalistani extremists in Canada?
Yeah, like I said, they're scared because they want to have their support. And, that's a group that is very important in some ridings here in Canada, and they want to have their support. But actually, I want also to have their support. But I want to have their support by not, by telling the truth and not pandering, just telling them, you are welcome in this country. You must share our values. And one of its important values is respect. We must respect the rights of everybody. And, when you have extremism in this country, that's not helping. But also, I must add that you had also a couple of weeks later, some extremists, one person, I believe, Hindu that, didn't want, they were also being a little bit aggressive. So all that, we must not have that in our country. I'm welcoming everybody when you share our values. And I'm very pleased to be with the Hindu Forum because you know what is their slogan? Their slogan is support the country you live in or live in the country that you support. So I like that slogan. I want everybody to be in line with our Canadian values and bring your flavor to our country. But when you have extremism, it's not good for the country. It's not good for the unity of our country.
No question about it. Extremism of any kind is unacceptable in civil society. What's also shocking, Mr. Bernier, is that an off-duty policeman was part of these violent protests. Those visuals have been there. The Peel Police has admitted to this. How do you see this?
All that is sad, very sad. And what is sad also is our mainstream media in Canada and our establishment politicians don't want to speak about that. They're afraid to tell the truth. I'm not afraid. I'm saying to them, I'm saying to the Sikh, I'm saying to the Jewish people, I'm saying to the Muslim, you are welcome in our country. Come here and share Canadian values. That's why also we want to have an interview. That's our position, our political position on immigration, an interview with every new Canadian. We want to be sure that these person will share our Canadian values and they won't bring here their internal conflict in their country of origin. That's why we need to have that, and we are not having that. So all these people who were part of the aggressivity and violence, it can be Canadians from another origin, but violence, I'm against that as a politician. We must be able to respect each other. That's important. Like I said, it's one of our principles of our political party, respect and fairness. So you must respect everybody. And these kind of situations that happened here in our country, I cannot tolerate that.
But isn't it true that these Khalistani elements continue to be patronized? Is it just a question of vote bank politics and the need to appease the likes of Jagmeet Singh of the NDP? I ask you this because Canada has been a victim of Khalistani terror in the past, as we know, with the Air India bombings of 1985, for which justice has eluded the victims. Why this patronage continues?
But I must say that the leader of the NDP, Jagmeet, couple of years ago, it took him a long time before condemning what happened in our country a couple of years ago. The biggest terrorist attack with the Air India. That happened a long time ago. But the leader of the NDP, Jagmeet Singh, it took him years before condemning that. So, you're in Canada, you must fight for a Charter of Rights. I did that during the COVID hysteria here in this country. I was the only leader who said, we must respect everybody. Everybody must have the choice to decide if they want that vaccine or not. That was not the case. So, yeah, politicians must, if they must welcome everybody, but they must welcome people who share our values and not bringing here in Canada their internal conflicts. And I believe that the NDP, the Liberals, and the Conservatives are afraid. They're pandering. They're doing identity politics. I don't like that. It's not good for our country. We must look at Canadians and have the best policies for all Canadians. And I don't care. I don't mind what is your fate or what is the color of your skin. For me, it's not important. It's your character. It's the fact that you share Canadian values. That is important for me. But now that radical movement in Canada is growing a little bit because of these kind of politicians who are afraid to tell the truth to Canadians.
So let me also ask you, Mr. Bernier, how do you think Justin Trudeau has handled the case of Hardeep Singh Nijjar, which has sparked intense debate? Do you believe the Canadian Prime Minister's response to allegations linking the Indian government to Nijjar's assassination have been adequate? Because what he has said is that these are based on intelligence and not hard evidence.
Yeah, I was Foreign Affairs Ministers under the Harper government, and I went to India a couple of times, and I traveled across the world. We must have good relationship with the Indian government. It's a country that is part of the BRICS country, and also it's a country that is growing. We have a lot of commercial relationship with India. And now with all that, it is sad. I don't have, the same thing happened in the US. And as you know, the US government was able to have a good relationship with the Indian government and try to solve that problem. But here in Canada, that's not the case because of the Trudeau government. I don't know who is right. I don't know who is wrong. But what I want to know the truth. And I want us to have a good collaboration with the Indian government, like the US are doing right now.
As of now, Mr. Bernier, there is a lot of pressure on diplomatic ties between India and Canada. How do you see these ties going forward? Because we have a large community of Indians who live in Canada. How do you see this diplomatic standoff moving forward?
Yeah, the Canadian government must, try to find a way to reconnect with the Indian government. We cannot have that kind of relationship for years or for months. We need to solve that. We need to be out there and not doing that speaking through media. You can have a good discussion and you can find a solution to what happened. And if we have some proof that something happened, and the federal government must be out there and show that to the Indian government. And if we don't have any conversation right now, that's what we need. We need to have that discussion. We need to have open discussion between two governments. I don't understand, like I said, it's happening between the US government and India on the same kind of issue, but it is not happening here in Canada. The Trudeau government is looking to, when the Trudeau government is acting like that, I believe that he's acting like that because he's pandering to, a minority here in our country. We must be open to have discussion, and the solution to that is accountability and transparency, but that's not happening right now.
So, Mr. Bernier, who would you blame for this diplomatic standoff between India and Canada, Justin Trudeau or the Indian side?
The Liberal government has a responsibility for sure. They are in government right now. But if you look at that and do a big analysis of what is happening, it's not only the Liberal government. It's our policy on immigration. It's the fact that we have for years politicians in Canada that are doing identity politics and pandering to different ethnicity, and they must do politics for every Canadian, and they are not doing that. So that conflicts, the origin of that conflicts, it is not dated from yesterday or last month. Years, we are welcoming people who may not share our values, and when you have that, you can have conflict like that. So the Trudeau government has a responsibility, but also the government before the Trudeau government.
So let me also ask you, is the Conservative leader of the opposition, Pierre Poilievre, any better? Does he seem the kind of person who will steer clear of the patronage given to these separatist, extremist elements in the Khalistani side?
You must ask him that question. But, if I'm looking at Poilievre, every weekend he is having a new costume to pander to, a new group. I don't like that. Poilievre is, by doing that, is not helping here in Canada. Is not helping new Canadians to be part of our country. But you know what? Another problem of all that is Poilievre and Trudeau. They're not speaking about, the elephant in the room in Canada. And the elephant in the room is our multiculturalism policy. We are saying to our new immigrants, come here and you can, don't integrate to our country, and we will promote their culture. What I'm telling you right now is that Multiculturalism Act must be repealed. We must not, the federal government must not finance, for example, the Chinese New Year. I don't have anything against Chinese Canadians, but if they want to do that, they must do that with their own money. The federal government must promote our culture, our identity, our history. That's why we must end that multiculturalism in our country. Multiculturalism failed. Thank you. Multiculturalism failed in Europe, in Canada, and Poilievre won't speak about that. Actually, he will do the opposite. He will promote that. As you know, people are coming to Canada because they want to share our culture. That's why they're coming here. And we need to promote our culture, our identity, our Charter of Rights. We are not doing that. That's sad, and that's why we are having that discussion today.
What do you think about Prime Minister Modi and his stand in the fight against all forms of extremism and terror?
No, he's fighting extremism, and we must do the same thing also. If you look at the history in our country, in Canada, we had some extremists, the FLQ, for example, in Quebec. As you know, they were fighting for the independence in Quebec. And we did fight that. We did fight extremism, and we must do that. So what he's doing in his country, I don't want to interfere in what he's doing. He's the leader, he's the prime minister, he's in charge of his country, and I don't want to criticize him or about what he's doing. But for me as a politician, yes, we need to give all the opportunity for Canadians to grow and to be prosper. But to do that, we need to fight crimes. Canadians need to be able to live in a very safe country. So that's the first job of a state, to be sure that our people, Canadians, will live here in Canada in security. Because if you don't have security, you don't have prosperity. So what he's doing in this country, it's, he's doing what he thinks is best for India. And me, I will do everything that I think is best for Canada.
So, Mr. Bernier, in the end, I want to ask you, looking ahead at the next federal elections, do you think national security, especially improvement in relations with countries like India, and also looking at the heightened tensions over extremist Khalistani elements would be the priority of any government that comes to power?
Yeah, we will have that discussion with India. We need to sit together and have that discussion about what is happening in our country. And we have extremists here in this country. So we need to be able to deal with that. And actually, what I will do, I will impose a moratorium on immigration. That will stop everything until we solve our challenges that we have in our country. We have a housing challenge, an housing crisis. Too many people are coming to our country, and we are not able to build houses for all of them. We need to solve that. We need to stop that mass immigration. And also, by doing that, we will be able to have a country that will be more united, and it will take time to be sure that all these new immigrants will be a part of our Canadian society. We stop mass immigration, have discussion, sit with the Indian government, and have a discussion about that challenge that they have in India and that we have here in Canada.
Well, on that note, Mr. Bernier, thank you very much for joining me and putting sense into what's happening internally in Canada. And we're very glad that somebody is taking a completely balanced view and a very detailed view on the attack against minority Hindu community living in Canada and the patronage being given to the separatist Khalistani extremists. Thank you very much, Mr. Maxime Bernier, for joining me on this very special broadcast.